Initiating sound check. Preparing and initiating pan test. Pan test left. Pan test right. Left. Right. Pan test complete. Sound check now complete. All systems are ready.
I gotta close the window before I record, cause New York don't know how to be quiet.
What up, my fellow Knicks fans? This is your guy Marcellus Ease, and don't panic quite yet. Now, the month of February has been rough on all of us. Just the Knicks going 4-8 after just having a beautiful month of basketball. When we seen the Knicks go up against the Nuggets and the Heat, just the way we was clicking on all cylinders, it was beautiful to watch. The spacing, the ball movement, the defense, the transitional points, the execution in that transition. Damn, just coming off all that excitement and just being brought back down to earth due to injuries, I gotta say. It's been rough on all of us. But even through the struggles, the month of February looking back, there was a few key positives I've seen. But first off, I gotta say, round of applause for yourselves, man, because the Knicks right now with Thibs got these boys playing hard. We've seen Donte DiVincenzo get more comfortable as his role increased with the scoring responsibility from night to night. And you can also look at guys like Precious, who's getting much more comfortable with the rebounding, protecting the rim on one-on-one situations. A lot of the role players are getting a lot more burn, and you're starting to see what the possibilities of this team could be when Thibs gets his type of players. And that's another thing. Shout out to fucking Thibs. Was he a championship coach this whole time? I mean, you could look back when he was in Chicago with D Rose going down. He still had that team performing at a high level. He got Joakim Noah 2 All-Star appearances, a first-team All-NBA, and he wasn't that much of a skilled player. He was just a hard worker. Taj Gibson was a double-double machine. Thibs always had guys performing at their maximum level. You could even look at Nate Robinson, the way he took out Darren Williams and the Brooklyn Nets in that playoff series. Thibs, in a way, has always maximized the players that he had. And even in Minnesota, they didn't make the playoffs in 13 years until Thibs arrived. And even after they left, it took them 3 more years on top of that to make the playoffs again. So this whole time, Thibs could possibly be disguising as a championship coach that just has some bad luck here and there. But when he actually gets his group of guys that he wants, and he's locked in with the general manager or the / president, the way he is with Leon Rose right now, we're seeing the fruits of that. Getting guys like Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Donte DiVincenzo, rim protectors like Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson. We're starting to see the impact that he has as a coach. When you really think about it, he had the resume and the history this whole time, being the assistant coach of the Knicks during their 90s run. He was an assistant coach with Doc Rivers during the Boston Celtics championship run. He just needed to be in position with a little bit of luck. And that didn't happen in Chicago with the D Rose injury. And that didn't happen in Minnesota because Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins was really not about that life. But now that he's in New York, at first he had a stumbling block with Leon Rose with the Cam Reddish move. They clearly wasn't on the same page right after that transaction. Thibs was not fucking with him off rip. But ever since they flipped him for Josh Hart, and they got Donte DiVincenzo, they got Precious, they got OG, we're seeing the effects of that synergy now. And I'll say this, even through injury, Thibs got them boys playing hard. And if you fellas want to see proof of that, when the Knicks have one of their nationally televised games on TNT, pull up the NBA app and try to watch the game on the aerial view. And you're going to see how hard the Knicks crash the fucking boards. Other teams don't crash the boards like that. And I can only imagine how bad it gets when the Knicks have Mitchell Robinson down there. Then they're going to have OG. Then you're going to add on top of that Josh Hart. DiVincenzo be crashing the boards like crazy. Precious. and teams have to last through 4 quarters of that beatdown just on the offensive boards. But just to see that effort from a bunch of 6'4" guys like Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, teams around the league definitely are on notice that the Knicks are a problem, even if they're not shooting well. And it's crazy just looking back throughout the past, I would say 2 to 3 seasons with Thibs, he kind of looked antiquated. But the way the league, it keeps evolving from year to year. Right now, the NBA is so fucking spaced out that the 3-point shot is no longer a better shot than the mid-range shot, especially with the center trying to avoid 3 seconds in the key. If you got slashers like DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Brunson entering the paint with his floaters, Julius Randle, a bulldog in the paint, and then you got OG in the corner who can not only knock down threes and space the floor, and he could finish at the rim by just dunking the ball, unlike RJ Barrett. That shit is a fucking problem. And this type of floor spacing and relentless attack is not just coming from the Knicks starters. When fully healthy, it's going to be the same type of formula coming from the bench, maybe to a different degree. You might have OG and Brunson in with the bench unit, and then you might have Randle in with the bench unit. But you're still going to have McBride and Josh Hart defending the point of attack, along with the spacing that Bojan now provides. We've seen that relentlessness beat down teams like the Miami Heat in our first matchup, in which they ran out of gas by the end of the 3rd quarter. But hey, right now Thibs has his type of players, not only in the starting unit, but also in the bench. And it's looking like it's back to him being in that circumstance of having good luck and good timing, as can he have his key guys come back from injury in time to gel and build up that momentum again, then head into the playoffs. It's not really about just OG and Randle coming back before the playoffs. We have to have them sort of come back and gel with the new guys now, with the new bench rotations, and also give Thibs enough time to kind of figure out, okay, am I going to put Randle on the floor with the bench unit? Am I going to have Hart, McBride, Randle, Bojan, and Hartenstein? Or is it better to sub out Brunson and OG first and then mix them up with that unit? Thibs is going to need at least a good 10 games to figure that out. But hey, injuries is part of the game. And just looking at the landscape, oh my God, the Eastern Conference landscape keeps changing. As we see teams right now like the Philadelphia 76ers dealing with the Embiid injury, which is causing them to go down the standings. And the Cavaliers dealing with the injury early on in the month of January with Darius Garland. They kind of started to figure out a nice little formula that got them rolling with Donovan Mitchell, along with their role players who started to get more responsibility and started leveling up. Guys like Isaac Okoro, Strus, and Dean Wade. You see the Cavs, just like us in the month of January, they got cooking. They got cooking because they started kind of tweaking their lineups a little bit, and just them going into the month of February, it went as far as them even considering playing Evan Mobley for less time. They're actually willing to make that sacrifice so they can get the floor spacing and the 3-point shooters out there. That's something that they've corrected from last season. And it's going to be one hell of a battle with us going up against them, especially if we're healthy in the playoffs. Because right now it looks like they're willing to sacrifice Evan Mobley, at least getting starter minutes, in order to space that floor a lot better and just not having teams leaving him open for 3-point shots because they know he's not a threat. And the final thing with the Cavs, during the month of January when Darius Garland was out, they found out that one of their undrafted players, Craig Porter, was actually not bad. He started getting a lot of burn, and they found out real fast that he's a useful player in their rotation. So as we take a look at the landscape, I would say the Cavs are definitely trending up. And speaking about another team that's trending up, I would hate to say, man, these guys never die, is the Miami Heat, the cockroaches of the Eastern Conference. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games. And when they made that trade for Terry Rozier, they actually lost 7 games in a row. But it seems like Rozier kind of dialed back on that volume shooting. But I don't know if Pat Riley has a sweatshop in Miami, because of course they keep finding fucking guys. And I'm not talking about their new Spaniard rookie, Jamie Juarez. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Jovic. Where do the Heat keep finding these fucking players? All of a sudden he's shooting lights out And at the same time, Duncan Robinson is now coming alive, and the Heat, with their constant off-ball movement, they create a lot of matchup issues, particularly from the Milwaukee Bucks. But once again, no matter where they fall in the conference, whether they're the 8th seed or they're the number 2 seed, they're going to be an issue in the playoffs. And before I get to the top dogs in the Eastern Conference, Boston Celtics, I'm going to jump right over to the Bucks. Let me just say this about the Bucks, because right now they're trying to figure shit out still, which is kind of scary because Giannis is a ball handler. Even though he's a big man, he's a ball handler, and Dame does not move off ball well. He's never really had to play that role throughout his whole career. Now, even with Doc Rivers there, the Bucks still going to have to hide a lot of their mishaps, especially with their transition defense. Remember, when the Knicks had played the Bucks in the knockout rounds of the in-season tournament, the Bucks shot really well from 3 historically. It was almost like a historical record. It's because of one of their players, I believe Robin Lopez, in garbage time, he chucked up a 3 and he messed up their record. They would have finished as a team having the #1 3-point shooting percentage for an NBA game. But the Knicks were in that game to the very last minute, even though we couldn't make a 3 for our life. And the reason is because the Bucks give up too many transitional points. So Doc Rivers right now is trying his best to mask around some of their weak perimeter defenders, aka Damian Lillard and Beasley. But the Knicks at the time had no answers for guys like Chris Middleton, who was somehow blowing past RJ Barrett. Now we're going to have OG in there. We're going to have not only him and Randle having at least the size to somewhat stop Giannis. And also OG is going to be there to also spread the floor, allowing Brunson to take full advantage of that drop coverage that they love to play with Brook Lopez off that pick and roll. And the Bucks being a very top-heavy team, Doc Rivers still can't cover a lot of the flaws that they have. They don't have guys who like to rebound, and they also don't have enough shot creators and ball handlers. Guys off the pick and roll to make a move and go into the paint. Bobby Portis can't do that, and they don't really have other guys off the bench that can do the same, at least penetrate. So even though the Bucks have made strides going into the month of March, I still have them trending down, especially when you hear a coach say this about coming to your team.
Taking a job when you're about to go on the toughest road trip of the season is not the smartest decision. I even told them that, can we wait till All-Star break? You know, it would have been a lot nicer. So that, in that way, it's been harder. I mean, the fact, I've been in Milwaukee 4 days. You know, I've had the job for 3 weeks. So it's been difficult. It's been probably more difficult than I thought.
Yo, Doc Rivers went on more press runs than a rapper trying to get fucking streams for his album. It's almost like he was trying to find a way to cushion an excuse of why the team was kind of, in a way, trapped. It was never really going to be a good team. He could only mask around their problems for so long, because that is the reality of that squad. They gave up so many draft assets throughout the years to get Drew Holiday and to get Damian Lillard, and it's going to be very hard for them to pivot and add more players to that roster or even make trades and get other guys to come to the team, especially with the new CBA coming in, which is going to punish teams that are constructed the way theirs are, having 2 players getting paid $50 to $60 million. So I have the Bucks trending down, and if the Knicks are healthy, that's going to make a great matchup because Brunson now is going to have plenty of room to actually hunt Brook Lopez and get him in that pick and roll situation, especially on the weak side, having OG just sit in the corner and forcing the Bucks to make a decision. Either you're going to leave Brunson open for the mid-range or you're going to double team, and thus he's going to kick it out to OG. This is a conundrum that did not exist before when RJ Barrett was on the team because he wasn't a threat from 3-point range like that. But as we continue to look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference, the final team I wanted to cover here is the Boston Celtics. Of course, they're the top dogs of the East, but remember earlier I had stated that the trend of the league right now, especially the way the floor is spaced out, is that the mid-range shot today, at this very moment, comes a lot easier than the 3-point shot. That's why you see guys like Julius Randle's having a hell of a season, even though his 3-point attempts are way down, but yet his efficiency and his output is almost the same. That's because the floor is so spaced out, while at the same time the center is trying to avoid 3 seconds in the paint. So the middle is just wide open. But the Celtics are operating almost in reverse. 40% of their total shots is still from three. So one of the flaws of this team is that when that three-point shot is not falling, sometimes they have no plan B. And it's played out quite a few times this season for the Celtics, especially when they go up against the top 5 teams in the league during crunch time. We seen Jason Tatum earlier this season in that overtime loss against the T-Wolves. He got stuck shooting threes. Same thing for the rest of the Celtics squad. And even in the recent months, in their loss against the Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Clippers. And a lot of this begins with their leader, Jason Tatum. Sometimes he gets stuck just shooting threes, even though we know he can attack the hoop. They get real comfortable with shooting threes. And sometimes if that shit's not falling, there is no plan B. Once again, they lead the league in the total number of their shots being three-point attempts. As Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis was added as an insurance policy to make sure that this team gets over the hump, which has always been a knock on the duo of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. One season they'll get to the Eastern Conference Finals, then the next season they'll get knocked out by the Toronto Raptors. Or they'll get to the NBA Finals and they get knocked out by the Miami Heat. It's always up and down with them, and they never tend to blow teams out. So this season is a little different for them. They got an insurance policy, a guy in Kristaps Porzingis who could actually post up and give them options down low, while at the same time having Jrue Holiday defensively and just another ball handler to get Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown the rock in their spots. So the Celtics definitely will be a tough matchup. Their only Achilles heel is that sometimes they get too comfortable with the three-point shot. And when it's not falling, once again, they tend to get robotic and stuck. So within the Eastern Conference, I have the set of teams I just went over in a tier. And the second tier below that, I have the 76ers, Orlando Magic, and Indiana Pacers. And the reason for that, because I believe these teams are always going to be up and down, and they don't have enough playoff experience. And the holes that they have on their teams tend to get exposed in the playoffs. For the Pacers, it's going to be the physicality. For the Orlando Magic, it's going to be the lack of shooting and not having a ball handler on the team. And for the 76ers, I believe Embiid is not going to be back in time. But we'll see, because if the Knicks don't get Randle and OG back and get enough games in, at least 2 weeks in, to gel, we might be swimming in that second tier, trying to survive, trying to get out of that, build up our momentum to go battle the big dogs like Milwaukee, Cleveland, and the Celtics. But it's subject to change because injuries are part of the game, and who knows, maybe KP might go down for the Celtics, and that'll change the whole dynamics of that team. So the NBA this season has had a lot of officiating issues. It seems like every week there's a coach going viral during his press conference. We've seen this happen for the Raptors coach, the Kings coach. Hell, Mike Brown even went as far as bringing a laptop to his presser and showing exactly what the refs missed. But the real icing on the cake this season was the foul that was called on Jalen Brunson when the Knicks were on the road against the Houston Rockets to end the game off of free throws and just robbing the audience of just a beautiful back and forth game that was really headed into overtime. But in the Knicks' most recent matchup against the Detroit Pistons, Coach Monty Williams went off on the foul that wasn't called when Dante DiVincenzo dived at the legs of Asur Thompson. But interesting enough, when the 2-minute report finally came out on this game, the real victims were the New York Knicks, as the refs had missed 2 calls. But before I get to that, let's see what Monty Williams, the coach of the Pistons, had to say.
Where's the New York media now? The absolute worst call of the season. No call. And enough's enough. We've done it the right way. We've called the league. We've sent in clips. We're sick of hearing the same stuff over and over again. We had a chance to win the game, and the guy dove into Asar's legs, and there was a no call. That's an abomination. You cannot miss that in an NBA game, period. And I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of our guys asking me, what more can we do, coach? That situation is exhibit A to what we've been dealing with all season long, and enough's enough. You cannot dive into a guy's legs in a big-time game like that and there be a no call. It's ridiculous, and we're tired of it. We just want a fair game called, period. and I got nothing else to say. We want a fair game, and that was not fair. I'm done.
Now, for losing teams, there's an uphill battle because there is no benefit of the doubt from the referees. As Knicks fans, we've experienced this throughout the years. But for us, this situation is even times 10 because the national media, the way they talk about and brand the Knicks, it's almost like a team to make fun of. And this does have a trickle-down effect because the perception of the team is that, oh, well, they're just the Knicks. Of course that happened to them. Whether we lose in the lottery or we lose a game because of a no call, and we even seen this play out with the ref that got caught fixing games with Tim Donaghy. The only reason the NBA found out about him is because the Vegas casino operators were keeping track of why when he reffed the Knicks games, the disparity in the free throw shooting was so fucking ridiculous. And it wasn't ironic that Donaghy chose to do this for the Knicks games. And just before I get to this 2-minute report, remember, the Knicks every single night have 3 opponents. They go up against the team that they're facing on the court, they go up against the refs, and they go up against the media, marking our perception. But let's go to ChatGPT to see who the real victims are in this last 2-minute report.
The first missed call was with 58.0 seconds left in the game. The last 2-minute report states that Pistons big man Jalen Duren should have been called for a loose ball foul as he was holding the wrist of Knicks big man Isaiah Hartenstein. Instead, the ball ended up being off of Hartenstein and led to the Pistons getting possession. Later on in the fourth quarter, Duren should have been whistled for another violation. With 25.0 seconds left, the last 2-minute report states that the former first-round pick should have been called for a defensive 3-second violation, as he was not actively guarding an opponent while in the painted area.
So right there, within the last minute alone, the Pistons should have had 2 less possessions, which more than likely would have resulted us not having to scramble for the ball at the end of the game. So the result of them not calling a loose ball foul on Duren swung the momentum because the Pistons got the possession and then scored and went up by 1. And the second call is even more obvious as the ref is standing right next to Duren that it's a 3-second violation in which the Knicks should have got the free throw to tie the game and the possession. So that's 2 momentum swings on back-to-back offensive possessions for the Knicks that they missed the fucking call. And Monty Williams has the audacity to say it's a fucking abomination after what the Knicks experienced in the fucking Rockets game. Once again, the Knicks have 3 fucking opponents every game, and we getting sick of it too. The refs, the perception the media puts on us, so the refs interpret us that way, and the fucking opponent on the court. Come on, man. Now, moving on to a lighter note, round of applause for Leon Rose. Just getting beautiful contracts on the Knicks books right now, and it's according to what player archetype fits with what Thibs is trying to run. And for those of you who are watching the visual version of this, as you can see, this is a list of the most valuable contracts compared to what the players are producing right now in the entire league. And the Knicks have 5 players on this list: Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and Josh Hart. Now you can make an argument that there's other players on the Knicks roster that should be on this list, but due to the fact that their contracts are about to expire, guys like Hartenstein should be on this list. And I would also add to this list, not due to his play necessarily, but the value of his contract, is Bojan. The fact that the Knicks already have his $20 million for next season on the books, along with having the option to fully guarantee it, thus using it as a tradable asset to perhaps grab another person and take on longer term money, especially with the new CBA kicking in. This is something great to have on your books. Because once again, with that new CBA, this year is the last year you could take on extra money. Basically, you can go shopping for free, because next season, to have extra money on the books, especially for teams that hit certain parts of the luxury tax thresholds, whether you hit the first apron or second apron, it's going to be hard to take on extra money. So the Knicks could use that as a leveraging tool, the same way the Golden State Warriors kind of used Kevin Durant's contract when they did a sign and trade and sent him to Brooklyn for D'Angelo Russell. They used that contract as a bargaining chip to take on extra money. That's how they got Andrew Wiggins. Alongside other players they already had the bird rights on. Thus, they could keep signing for extra money, guys like Jordan Poole that was already on that roster. So the Knicks right now could kind of bite off that same blueprint, kind of leverage that extra $20 million Bojan has expiring next season, and perhaps take on another player that has 2 more years left in their deal, or for a team that's possibly trying to just get money off their books. But shout out to Leon Rose once again, because if you take a look at this list, there's not too many teams competing at a high level with multiple great contracts on their roster. Most championship rosters throughout the last, I would say, 40 years of the NBA have been built on bad contracts, or you could even say discounted contracts. And the most recent team you could look at is the Golden State Warriors, where they gave Stephen Curry an extension at a discounted rate, thus allowing them to have enough room to go after Kevin Durant in 2016. And you match that in with the salary cap that raised up in 2017, it allowed them even more flexibility to keep extending Durant. And the Knicks are kind of falling into the same realm here. The cap is going up, and we have 4 to 5 guys on great discounted contracts. That's why I've always emphasized in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 seasons, when Julius Randle first got that big money, that was not a max contract. It was nowhere even near it. And that deal today even looks sweeter with the salary cap going up. But hey, Leon Rose is doing one hell of a job to have multiple players on this list and having his team competing at a high level, while at the same time having plenty of draft assets to maneuver. That's why the Knicks really do look like the future of the Eastern Conference. Not only they're competing right now, they're one of the few teams that are competing that actually have enough flexibility to make other roster moves. The Celtics don't have that luxury. The Bucks don't have that luxury. And the Cleveland Cavaliers don't have that luxury. So the position we're at right now has to be much respected. That's why you see a lot of the naysayers shutting the fuck up right now. Because if they truly look at the landscape of the East, they understand the Knicks are really at the best position to be the future of that conference. So with the ever-changing media landscape right now, NBA players have the ability to not only broadcast themselves, but to control their narratives. But there's certain skill sets that come with that ability for players who are high profile. You got to be able to politic and balance the comfortability of being around friends. And in the curious case of Mikal Bridges right here being the face of the Brooklyn Nets, he unknowingly is going to allow himself to get walked down slowly into a corner where he has no choice but to sit down and agree with Brunson and Hart as they shit on the Brooklyn Nets franchise. And it even go as far as him acknowledging that they really don't have a fan base. Once again, Mikal Bridges being another Villanova alumni kind of creates this false sense of comfortability and kind of causes him to forget that he is the face or just the main building piece of that Nets franchise. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Having a road game at home.
Ooh.
Obviously, that's the next
spot you went to. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering because if it's on the East Coast, except for Boston, really, it's
And Philly.
Philly, but we smacked Philly earlier, so
But
like they
no-
showed out, but only if it's like a blowout.
Yeah, but like usually Philly's like is not.
That was an anomaly.
That was an anomaly.
Okay. But I mean, Charlotte home game, Miami. Miami.
They be lit in Miami like that?
50-50.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
because
New
you have a
Yorkers
lot
in
of
Miami.
New Yorkers,
Miami.
Really?
but like you also know like.
Now you heard Mikal Bridges? He was really asking, does Miami have New Yorkers like that? Remember, Mikal Bridges has played for the Nets for over 2 years, and he still does not know when he goes to Miami that there should be a bunch of New Yorkers at the game. And it makes you wonder, do the Nets have an audience? Let's take a look at that again.
I mean, Charlotte home game, Miami. Miami.
They be lit in Miami like that?
50-50.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
because
New
you have a
Yorkers
lot
in
of
Miami.
New Yorkers,
Really?
but like you also know like.
Damn, he said, really? Yo, Mikal, you play for a New York City team. Once you're in Miami, Orlando, all of Brooklyn is out there. All of Queens is out there. All of the Bronx is out there. Come on, Mikal. The whole tri-state is out there. How you not know that? Oh, wait, he doesn't know that because they really don't have a fan base.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
because
New
you have a
Yorkers
lot
in
of
Miami.
New Yorkers,
Really?
but like you also know like.
A lot in Orlando.
Yeah, but you also
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Miami
Orlando.
is like one of those things where it's like it takes the Miami faithful
Yeah.
a little. It takes them a little while to trickle into the arena.
For sure. Yeah, game 7 o'clock.
Facts.
You look in the crowd like,
Yeah, 7 o'clock. They'll
Where
get
y'all
there
at?
about 8:15.
Yo, the Miami Heat fans treat the Heat games like a club, man. They show up almost to the good part. I'm surprised they don't show up in the beginning of the fourth quarter.
hey, 15 are doing jumping.
But yeah, Charlotte, DC, that's a home game. So
Brooklyn.
I mean,
What's the worst? Is it Brooklyn?
See, right there, that was time for Mikal Bridges to say, nope, not true. Put your political poker face on, Mikal.
Brooklyn was fire this year.
Brooklyn's
I'm sorry.
That's to be expected.
Yo, Brooklyn, a game in Brooklyn this year was hype.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was loud.
And y'all it was funny because someone really
Uh-oh, they're slowly walking him into that corner. Mikal, you better fight against that. You better start denying this shit.
played y'all because they did a video of your three. You hit a three with like 5 minutes left, and he hit a three with like a minute and a half left when we were on a run. The difference of the crowd, like you made your three, people were like, oh yeah, clap. He made his three, and the arena erupted. It's like,
And I had a tough 3-2 off the dribble, quick off the screen, pull up too. Like, it wasn't just like no wide open. Like, yeah, dribble, I'm all hype.
I mean, but
Damn, Mikal. You supposed to deny that, Mikal. You supposed to deny that. You the face of the franchise. You supposed to be denying it right now. Put your political face on, boy.
but is that, did that ever get to you? That like,
No, that wasn't fun. You know, if we would have won, then I'd just been like, aha, but we lost. So that wasn't really fun. Especially, it was the play when y'all got the block,
I got the block, thank you.
and then
Just saying.
Julius got the dunk. That's when it really blew me. 100%. Because just the reaction off the block, it was crazy. Was it 2 blocks?
Yeah, cause I blocked Dennis,
And
and
OG
then
blocked
OG
Cam.
blocked Cam,
Yeah,
and then
like-
I saved it, threw it to him, bounce pass.
And that's when it was crazy because it's like, wow. And I'm watching too, like I'm here, so I'm like, and we're home. So first of all, we're on my carries, like I know everybody's in there. Like a block like that gets, even if you're a freaking home fan, like that's going to surprise you, like, oh. Shit. But the second one was like, give me that to the crowd energy, like, I was like, and then the kick head to the dunk. I'm like, okay, bro. Now I feel like I'm in MSG.
Yo, Mikal too comfortable right now. You giving it up, boy. Oh, man. Yo, Mikal, you gotta have a better poker face than that. Remember, you the franchise guy.
The dunk to the scream and all y'all hype yelling and all that stuff. I'm just like, here we go.
It's tough because like, y'all in a tough position. Because like New York, no matter what, like no matter how good the Nets get, like it's gonna be like that's Knicks City. Like
Mikal, here's your cue. You better deny that or just put on a poker face. Don't say nothing.
but like I was in LA. No
I ain't said
matter,
that. Don't look at me like that. I ain't
no
said that.
matter how good the Clippers are gonna be, like that's LA's always gonna be the Lakers. Like no matter like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like
Pass down generation.
yeah, generation, and there's just more. The Knicks are a little bit more storied in New York, so it's just like that vibe's got to be tough. You ever look at like what's along the horizon or what's
Across the
river across the waters?
trying to get
So
this man in trouble.
I was
no, it's okay because if you talk
because
about
you live in.
that's what I'm saying. So
You
across the
live in
waters
the
would be
I was
Brooklyn.
looking at Brooklyn.
yeah.
So basically, yeah, I am going across. I am
Oh,
across.
okay.
Look at Mikal right now. He's hesitant. He doesn't want the audience to know he doesn't live in Brooklyn.
I live
Okay.
in Manhattan. So.
Nice.
And also across the water would be Jersey City as well. So
That's home. You know what I mean? You're a Jersey guy.
Jersey, Summerdale.
Yeah.
the hell is Summerdale?
Not Summerdale. What's the
Cherry?
was it Cherry Hill? Was it Cherry Hill?
It was Cherry, and then Lindenwood was one. But yeah, Cherry Hill, yeah, bro, Cherry right next to the mall.
So
I have a question.
Yeah, I'm a South Jersey boy. Yeah.
So there you have it. The Nets star not even knowing Miami had a bunch of New Yorkers. And that's after playing for Brooklyn for over a year and a half. And he also admits he lives right across the water in Manhattan, which really isn't a shock, but there's plenty of high rises right next to Barclays Center. But the players in the media game presents a lot of interesting conundrums because he slowly got walked into that corner. And the Nets this season just having no energy, no momentum with their fan base. Them just almost being in the business of just selling other team stars coming into their arena. It's not looking good. And their owner Joe Tsai is considering selling the team after he's not able to profit as much as he thought he would. Especially after he decided to side with his GM over Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. The NBA is a star-driven league, and even though the Nets are in New York, they are not a destination franchise for top 5 players in the league. Shit, maybe even top 10. And Kevin Durant not working out for the Nets actually hurts their franchise more. It almost serves as a lesson for any top 5 player in the league to not go there as a free agent, because not only you can't make an impact on the market playing for the second-class team of that city, but even if you're on KD's level, which in 2021, he was at least top 2 in the league. So even being at that level and playing for the Nets, your impact on that market is still minimum. But one of the beat writers for the Nets gave insight to the atmosphere in Brooklyn, and he clearly spells out the results of the Nets not really establishing a fan base in New York City.
As someone who covered this team back when it moved to Brooklyn 12 years ago, it is jarring how much things have degraded, at least how it feels anyway, from an atmosphere standpoint here. It just doesn't feel like there's any fans really for the Nets at all at these games. Like, you come every night and the visiting team is getting massive cheers compared to the home team. And whenever Kyrie made a shot, the cheers were a lot louder than the handful of boos he was getting from the home fans. I don't think it's because there was like a massive amount of Nets fans cheering for Kyrie. I think there were a lot of Mavs fans here cheering for Kyrie and Luka. And it's just sort of what it's been like on a nightly basis of late. And it made for kind of a weird atmosphere. I mean, perhaps the funniest part was, last week when Kevin was here, they did a, welcome back video and a nice little tribute. Today, they just do welcome back to Kyrie, to Seth Curry, who played like a year and a half here, played like 80 games, and Markieff Morris, who played 27 games here. Had them all like lumped in together. Welcome back, guys.
It's very interesting to see how the national NBA media has remained silent on the downfall of the Nets. But during the free agency period in which they acquired KD and Kyrie Irving, they couldn't wait to talk about how the Nets topped the Knicks in free agency. But eventually, at the end of the day, Joe Tsai got to realize he was lucky to get KD to go there. Him following behind the footsteps of Kyrie Irving. The Nets are not a destination for at least top 5 players in the league. They are not going to play for the Nets. They might as well go and play for the Knicks and gain better access to that New York market. There's no reason to go for the second place team, not for a top 5 player. And Joe Tsai might have taken the crown for the worst NBA owner in New York City, because had the shoe been on the other foot and James Dolan lost Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, we all know it would have been all over print news how the Knicks are the worst franchise within the NBA. But when it comes to the Nets, it's crickets. So it is what it is. On the Nets' best day with James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, once the Knicks got the ball rolling and Julius Randle had his breakout season in 2020, the Knicks instantly gained more relevance than the Nets throughout the city. Word on the street was always going to be about the Knicks. And the media playing into Kevin Durant talking about the Knicks ain't cool was just a bunch of fluff. We really can't take a word from a guy that follows behind the footsteps of Kyrie Irving. And the Knicks eventually end up landing in a much better situation. Not only the team is strong, we got plenty of draft picks to continue building on top of what we already have. So us losing out in the 2019 free agency pool ended up being a blessing. So until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.